This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Ready to get started here. So, East Hampton Media folks. All right, this is Chris Fowles, Chair of the Select Board. I'm calling to order the meeting of the Select Board. I guess we have a quorum tonight, and we have several guests. We're inviting the public in tonight, so we have a meeting starting at about 7:03. This is being recorded, and basically the meeting tonight is to focus on the subject matter, community forum input session for the residents of Southampton to give us some thoughts about what they would like to see in a town administrator. And we have on screen Bernard Lynch, who's the principal of Community Paradigm Associates, who will be hosting the meeting. So with that, I think I'll turn the meeting over to Bernie.
Okay, great. Thank you, Chris. And great to see everyone here. As Chris had pointed out, this is a community forum, and which is a mechanism that we have used in a number of communities in the 100 or so town administrator, town manager searches that we've conducted over the last 7 or 8 years here in Massachusetts. It's a means by which, pre-pandemic, we did these in person, obviously, and since the pandemic, we've moved to these virtual forums, which actually we seem to get a better turnout. Interestingly, so this technology is actually helpful to us to have people participate in the process. Our goal when we do these, and we leave it up to the communities to decide whether they in fact want to have a forum of this sort. Our goal is to hear from the residents and stakeholders within the community to speak on the issues of what are the challenges, what are the opportunities facing their community, what skills, what attributes would they like to see in the next town administrator, and it's really a means by which we can get people involved, engaged, and really get a handle on what the community is all about, so that when we go out looking for candidates or we're speaking to candidates that might be interested, we can tell them about what the issues are and what skills they need to have in order to be successful in that town. And so, I do want to say that's something that we like to do. Not every town does it, so I think it's great that the board here in Southampton has made this decision to hear from residents and let them participate in this process. So you're not here I'm happy to answer questions about the marketplace. It's I will tell you, it's a very challenging market right now to find town administrators, town managers. It's particularly difficult, I will say, in your particular region of the state for a variety of reasons, mostly because the population density is just not that great, that we have a pool of candidates waiting for these positions. But there have been some great success stories out in your region in terms of hiring managers or having town administrators that are very successful. So again, I'm happy to take questions about the process and about the market and what we're seeing. But mostly we're here tonight to listen to you about what's facing Southampton, what opportunities are out there that a town administrator might be able to come in and help you move the town further forward, and what skills do you think that town administrator should have in doing that? So right now everyone is muted, but I am going to go in order of people that are interested in speaking. And if people down in your lower portion of your screen, there should be a place there called reactions. You can use any reaction you want to get my attention. I think there is a raising of hands to sort of be called upon. And if you don't have the ability to do that, just raise your hand, and I'll try to capture it and hear from you. So always the most challenging part of this is who wants to go first? Cindy, I can see that you want to speak. Am I wrong? All right, we're going to start with Tom.
That's I'm here because what I understood was, are you looking for language in the qualifications and description of the town administrator's position?
It depends on. Sure, let's use language. I mean, we're writing up a position. Let me perhaps, Tom. That's a great.
Let me, before I go there, has there been an exit interview with Mr. Gibson that he can tell you what the job is from the ground up?
We've spoken to Ed in the past, and we're going to be speaking to him again as we move forward.
All right.
Yes. Yep. And I should state that what we're hoping to get out of this is a better understanding for us that we will have in our heads. But beyond that, we're also preparing a position statement, which outlines information about the community, information about the form of government, and those challenges and opportunities and the attributes. It all will be contained within a 3 to 4 page document that we will then make available to potential candidates.
Well, there was a master plan committee done maybe 12 years ago with a lot of study. And as far as keeping that in the presence of mind, whoever comes in that knows what the future was thought to be in town.
Okay, great. All right, Sharon, do you know if we've seen that master plan yet?
It's
Yes.
on the website, but we can send you the link, Bernie, if you like.
Yep. Actually, I think Sharon has just indicated that we have seen it, and we will be putting a link within the document to that.
Right.
So
there was a major update to it about 3 years ago, so you've got an update to it.
Okay, great.
We have a link to the update.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Tom. Who would like to go next? Cindy? No? Yes? No? Yes? Go ahead.
Okay. Can you hear me? Because
We can.
there was a message that said the host would not allow people to unmute themselves. So I guess we have to do it on a one-to-one basis.
Exactly. Yep.
So I actually wasn't sure I was going to make it here tonight, but I'm here. And I had sent an email to Sharon, and I did mention the master plan, but we also have another very important document called the Open Space and Recreation Plan, which is a lot longer. And I would suspect anybody who is considering being hired for Southampton should have a great familiarity with both of those documents, but also have experience executing the kinds of goals and plans that are within that document. So that would be important to me. They need to have a good sense of our zoning, of our bylaws, both general and zoning bylaws. We are a diverse community. We are a little over 6,000 people at this point, but we're 50% of the voting population are seniors. That means 50% are younger than seniors. And we have an issue with communication in our town. There's a small percentage that are truly plugged into what's going on, and probably a large percentage that aren't so plugged in with what's going on. So communication is critical. And we need a town administrator that's a good communicator, that knows how to speak to large groups, that knows how to work with one-on-one. And we're a town that runs on volunteers, guaranteed. We run on volunteers, not Dunkin' Donut, just volunteers. Right. And the final thing to say is we need someone that's got excellent time and task management skills. because I went to the select board meeting last night, and I have to say, there was just so many issues that were presented. And I thought to myself, a town administrator has got to really be on top of so many issues, has to be able to know who to access to ask questions of that perhaps the person himself or herself may not have the answers to. So we're really expecting a lot on that front. I'll let somebody else talk now. Thanks.
Great. Thank you very much, Cindy. Some great points. And if it helps people to have a sense of my knowledge of what goes into these types of positions, I was a municipal administrative manager for about 30 years. So there's a lot that someone has to do in that job, and a lot of balls to juggle. So great. Thank you. Who's next that wants to speak? Okay, Tom?
I've been doing a little Googling, and I'm amazed at what other people's towns expect their town administrator to do. I question, you have directors, you have chairmen, you have appointees. They should be doing their job rather than having him check on them, is the way it seems to read. But to have an oversense of what's going on in town, moving it forward, settling any issues that he or she may be able to deal with. Right. Totally agree with that. But there was one thing that stood out as far as the town of Boxborough. And if you look up MassGov definition of town administrator, it's mind-boggling. But the one that stood out was it said supervision scope. And it's the position performs highly responsible duties requiring considerable initiative in planning, organizing, and directing the work of others through the exercise of considerable independent judgment. I think that's in a nutshell, and saves about 6 pages of many other criteria that they expect the guy to do. Working, 7 days a week, being responsible, being responsive, being present. Somebody else should be able to show up with some of these problems too. So it's a lot of work in a lot of other towns. And Bernard, I can't even imagine some of the bigger cities. I've come from Springfield. I come from the town of Agawam, worked with Springfield in the past. But to see what other people are doing around the state of Massachusetts, it's not the way it was back in the day. I was the conservation commissioner I was on the commission for 25 years. So I've seen a lot of growth in town, and I just like to see it continue and have responsible people at the helm. And I know Ed has done a fantastic job. We still have some settling to do. But I appreciate all your time, effort, and I will yield the floor.
Great. Thanks, Tom. Reggie, I'm going to unmute you now.
Hey, thank you. I just want to introduce myself. We just moved to town 10 days ago, so I have no knowledge of.
You're an expert then in everything that needs to happen.
Right.
Welcome.
Right. So I was just curious, maybe to hear from others as to what are the issues. Are there any issues in particular that affect Southampton, and anything controversial that's going on? It seems like just a beautiful place, and we're happy to be here.
Great. Well, I'm sure we'll hear that, but I'm going to put a question to you, Reggie. You had a decision of where to move. Tell me why you moved to Southampton.
So we moved to be closer to my in-laws who live in Holyoke.
Okay.
And we were actually looking in Holyoke, looking at a lot of other places, and Southampton ended up being a great place. We're 10 minutes from my in-laws, and we bought a house off of Pequot Road, and it's very quiet. It's just a great community.
It is a beautiful community. I've actually we did some work with Southampton some 7 or 8 years ago, and I had an opportunity then to do some sort of roaming about, and it is a beautiful town, and a lot of opportunities ahead of it, based upon the sort of what's happening in that region. So, but good choice. So.
Yes.
But when you've been here 14 days, then you can start to complain about things.
Right. Like I have nothing to complain about. The dump works. That's all I care about.
Just
Very
watch
good.
out on the 20th day, Reggie. We might sign you up for a committee, so watch out.
Exactly. Now we know your name and where you live. So.
I know. There's a mistake.
All right, Cindy, let's go back.
Actually, what I want is for somebody like Chris or somebody else to outline some of the big things that we have ahead of us. I mean, I can talk, but Chris, why don't you tell them about all the great things that we have right on our plate right now?
All right, I'll take a minute, but really we want to hear, from people too. And I see a bunch of hands up. So I'll just say for the Reggie and anybody else who isn't aware, probably there's, I would say, at least 3 big projects that are on the horizon right now. And one of those would be completing our bike trail in town, so what's known as the Southampton Greenway. We have about 3.5 miles of bike trail that would connect between a portion of Westfield and East Hampton that we have been receiving grants for, and the Greenway Committee has been working hard on. Secondly, we're in the process of getting, we've already done the feasibility work for a new senior center. As Cindy's mentioned, there's a number of seniors in town. I believe the number I heard is around 2,000. So that's about a third of our population are age 60 and over. And so there's plans to build a new senior center. And then lastly, right now, it was on my focus for today, is plans for building a new public safety complex. This is to house our fire and police departments that are now in 2 different buildings, one of which was constructed around the Civil War time, the other one constructed about 1900. And so they're really not at all sufficient or proper working conditions. And we've, been desperately needing a facility. So those are probably the biggest projects that are on the horizon that will cost a fair amount of money on all of them to get them completed over the next, hopefully within the next 5 years. That would be a nice goal.
And East Street.
Last one too. Sorry, I just got reminded. East Street Bridge. So we just finished putting in the East Street Bridge. When East Street is a major commuter area, basically from the center of town over to Holyoke in particular in East Hampton. But we are, now that the bridge is in, we'll be working with the Department of Transportation to actually do the widening, repaving of East Street itself. So the rehab of East Street itself, at least the first portion of it, will hopefully be done in the next few years as well. So those are probably the 4 big projects, for right now.
Great. There's a lot going on. So, Dalton, we're going to have Dalton.
Hi. Hi, this is Lucy Dalton. How are you?
Very well. How are you doing?
Good. So I am an employee of the town, and I am also a tax-paying resident of the town with my husband and my 2 children. We've lived here for over 26 years. We loved this town when we came here because of the school. We still love the town.
Right.
As an employee and a resident, I would love to see the new town administrator, whether it's a he, a she, whatever,
Right.
because someone earlier said he, but I'm not going to get into that. Anyways, I would like to see the person come in and be able to communicate and be very well organized. I want them to be able to trust their department heads to do, and boards and committees, chair people to do their jobs and report back to them if they need to be. I would like to see them do more research on our town before they accept a position, so they know how many people live here, what is the ratio for schools and for the senior center. I would love it if they were transparent and they are able to speak more with the press and media as to what's happening in our town. Because I feel like there's not a lot told to the residents. There's a lot of people who don't watch TV. There's a lot of people who don't read the newspaper. There are a lot of people who do read the newspaper. And if we don't get press releases or media out there telling what's really happening instead of hearing it through the grapevine, I think that the next town administrator should be able to do that. And I think I said, trust the department heads, to do their job. And if the town administrator needs to ask them any questions, then that's up to them. They should be able to make decisions based on knowledge and research. They should be able to help with the morale of the employees. They should know about budgeting and finance. We're a small town. We're not a big city. So there are different ways of budgets, how budgets run. And so that's about it.
Okay.
But my mostly is being communicative. That's my biggest thing, is being communicative and transparent. So thank you.
Great. Thank you, Lucy. Yeah,
you're welcome.
A challenge, and a couple of people have mentioned this, being getting information out. And that's a challenge that so many communities face now as newspapers have sort of shrunk, and they don't necessarily have the resources to get the information out. And so communities have to find other ways to do that. So
right.
That's
correct.
That's a great point. So thanks.
Bless you, Cindy, for sneezing. Thank you.
Thanks, Lucy.
Yep.
Who else would like to speak tonight? Give me some information. Do you have anybody else? Caitlin. Let's go to Caitlin here. All right. Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
Sorry for not being on video. I've been driving around, and I'm really grateful for everybody's comments and the opportunity to participate in this meeting. My name is Caitlin Rooks. I am a member of the grant committee as well as a member of the Board of Health in town. And I will tell you, it's been a big learning experience for me being, a volunteer for the town. I would say some of the qualities that I really would value in a future town administrator would be good communication. And we have a huge percentage of our town employees that are volunteers. And so I think that the ability to really effectively communicate and delegate to respective departments is super important, because we're a very small town and there's a lot of work to do. And we're always eager to work on new problems and take on new challenges. I know Chris was talking about the bike path, which we're really excited about. But I feel like that, in combination with really focusing on promoting a positive work culture and kind of getting people excited about participation in town government. Last election, there was a number of vacant positions. And so when you're super reliant on volunteers and then you have less of them, it puts a lot of burden on the few people that are volunteering. And I almost think it discourages other people for running for town government. And so I think in order to make sure that our town government is sustainable and can continue operations, that I almost need to create a culture that recruits people into being interested in running for town government. People are really busy and don't have a lot of free time to dedicate to town committees. And I really think it makes a big difference when you have more hands in the pot. But of course, more hands in the pot makes it a little bit more difficult to communicate. Right. And, I really do appreciate working with Ed. I also think, he has a lot of really talented people that work with him. And I think really leveraging every individual for the talents that they have and getting buy-in and requesting input from people will be equally as important, because I think for the first few years of somebody being in this position, it's going to be really important that they're willing to listen and hear from other people, so that voices are not disproportionately heard one over another. And so, he's able to gain enough, he or she is able to gain enough perspective to be able to manage the town from a well-rounded perspective.
Sure. Okay. No, that's great. I mean, certainly one of the challenges that many communities face, those communities that rely heavily upon volunteers or have multiple elected positions across a wide array of areas, is we talked about the trend towards less newspapers or less coverage from newspapers. The other trend that's out there is the issue of civic engagement and participation. Mm-hmm. And so when you are heavily dependent upon all of that and there's not enough participation, this is happening everywhere. It does produce a number of challenges, which is one of the areas that many communities, we just finished a project in another community, that they were looking at that same problem of how you operate your town government when not enough people are involved, and maybe having to look at the structure and look at some of the processes and maximizing the volunteers that you have. So you raise a great point as to some of the challenges that someone will have to face coming in. So I appreciate that. Thanks, Caitlin.
Thank you so much for listening.
Sure. Let's go to Janet. I always feel like a radio show host when
Here's Janet.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody.
Long time listener, first time call.
I guess one of the things I appreciate today is the open door policy. I feel if I have an issue, I'm the chair of the COA board. I'm on the housing authority, cost efficiency. So I really appreciate, the ability to contact the town administrator and have them open to have a discussion with me. The other thing that I would like the next town administrator to do is work with the select board to review that plan that was done in 2016 that you might be familiar with. And really look at our form of government, our flat organization, and work to make improvements in the form of government that we have in place today, and how can we improve upon that. So those are, kind of one of my big asks for the future.
Great. Thank you, Janet. And I am familiar with that document. So
yes, I thought you might be.
Hey. Who else do we have would like to speak? And by the way, if people are on tonight that don't have something they wish to say now, or wish to or something comes to your mind later, up until the moment of hiring someone, you can certainly contact me. It's blynch@communityparadigm.com. And I'm sure that that information is out there as to who we are and how you get a hold of us. And we're happy to take any feedback from anybody at any time. Cindy, let's go back to Cindy.
I would be tremendously remiss if I didn't raise another very big project before the town of Southampton, and that is a very large open space conservation project. I'm the chair of the Open Space Committee, and working with our local land trust, Kestrel Land Trust, we have before us, we hope, the potential to conserve greater than 1,000 acres, mostly in the town of Southampton. We are a community of absolutely fabulous forested and open space and agricultural lands. We have, the name of the project is a Mountain Waters Project. So I can spend a long time talking about it, but I'm not going to right now. I just will tell you, we are a town, and I was hoping the new resident, Reggie, might say something about how they like the idea of being in a town that has open spaces and has forested lands. And we have conservation lands as well that you can walk on trails, etc. But my sense is that the vast majority of people in the town of Southampton value those things. So if you were to read our open space and recreation plan more closely, you'd see that those are listed as priorities. But that is right right before us now. We are a CPA community, so we need a town administrator that understands what that is and how to utilize those resources, working with the CPC, the committee that manages community preservation. There are many aspects to that. We also are a town with a lot of good cultural resources. We have an excellent library. We have a wonderful, not only historic commission, but historical society. And all those things feed into who we are as a town that brings in a lot of people's interests. And we had a wonderful Celebrate Southampton event in early August of this year. So we're a community that gets involved in things.
Yep.
I hope I don't have to keep raising my hand.
No, that's great. I'm glad you brought up that project. I think we are aware of that one, I think. And we'll be, again, we're going to be linking to that. And where does that project stand right now, Cindy, from your perspective, for those that are listening? Oh, sorry. Let's go back.
Yeah.
Okay. Right now, we are holding our breath for the announcement for the state money, which is $1.25 million to support the project. But there's also private donors, and there's anonymous ones, and there's also contributions by Kestrel and other partners that are not private. And so the answer to your question is it's imminent. And we will have to go to town meeting in this calendar year. And I know our town administrator, as well as our select board, is well aware of the importance of that in order to vote to use the portion of the money that has to come from the CPC funds. And so if all that comes together, we have 9 willing landowners. Some of them have hundreds of acres, and a good portion of the property that we are talking about conserving will be accessible to the town.
Very good. All right. Okay, let me open up to anyone else. Somebody else that wishes. And I will say that for those watching that are wondering about the board members, we have been interviewing all of the board members, so we're very familiar with their priorities and what they'd like to see in the next town administrator. We've also spoken to a number of department heads and some other board members, some other committee members and volunteers, as well as receiving feedback from a questionnaire that we've sent out. So we try to really do a very expansive outreach to gain information so that we have as best an understanding of a town as possible. So when we're talking to candidates, we have a good handle on what a community is all about. So somebody else that has not spoken that would like to speak. Do we have anyone? All right. Well, I don't want to hold people unnecessarily. We're here. Sometimes, actually, I will tell you that we've done these forums in dozens and dozens of communities, and most oftentimes it's a smaller group than we have here tonight. We've had a few that are bigger, but it's engagement and participation in this process varies from community to community, but you're pretty much right in line in terms of the participation at this point. But we certainly welcome more participation as we go through the process. So,
yeah. Bernie, if I could just add something for those who may not have seen it on the town website, the select board page. We had a meeting with Bernie about 10 days ago. Actually, the select board did, and kind of went through the whole process. So there's a very easy to follow flow chart on the select board page of the town website, which will kind of guide you through the steps of the process that we'll be going through over the next couple of months, and the shortlisting and the interviews, et cetera. So if you haven't had a chance to look at that, you might want to take a look as well.
Yeah, and the outreach, and thanks, Chris, for mentioning that, and thank you for putting that up. We always like it when people have a good handle on what the process looks like. And just so you know how we go about doing this, we're going to post in the places you would think we would post and advertise this position. We utilize the Massachusetts Municipal Association. We also utilize an organization called Engaging Local Government Leaders, which is a relatively new organization. We have a database of some 400 or 500 people that we will be distributing this to: town administrators, town managers, assistants. We also have, and other people have joined that database based upon their interest in serving in these types of positions. I have the opportunity to teach in the Suffolk University, Massachusetts Municipal Association local government leadership program. We just had a class go through out in Northampton a couple of years ago. So we have a number of students in that region that we will be reaching out to see if they might be interested. And we've done a number of searches in that across the Commonwealth that we'll be reaching out to potential candidates and just trying to beat the brush a little bit to see whoever might be interested and might be qualified for this position. The goal is to build up a substantial pool of candidates that we can get the best possible group to present to the board for their consideration for this position. So if you know anyone in local government, by all means, spread the word. If you're not interested in contacting the people, just let us know, and we'll certainly do that. We have a good handle on all of the people in the state that are interested in these jobs, but we're always looking for additional leads wherever we can. So, all right. Chris, if that's, I think we might have finished for this evening. And again, I want to thank everyone for being here and participating in this process. And again, by all means, stay in touch, and we'll be happy to take feedback throughout the entire process.
Good. Bernie, since we do have a quorum here of select board, I need to call for a motion to adjourn. And I need a roll call vote, please. So I can only see Dan on the screen right now. Dan, if you'd make the motion, Dan LaValle, make a motion to adjourn. Yeah, Bernie will have to unmute you. I think.
Yep. Thanks, Dan, for the sign language there.
Yeah, and then there's Stephen, who might join in as a second, but Dan, go ahead.
Yes, I would like to make the motion that we adjourn the select board meeting.
Okay. Stephen, if you're there, can you make a second if you get unmuted, if you're still there?
I don't see Stephen.
Okay, John Lumbrough.
Who's next?
John Lumbrough. Oh, maybe he's gone too.
Yeah, John looks like he's gone.
Okay, well, we had a quorum, but we don't anymore. So, all right. I'm going to call the meeting adjourned, I think, since we don't have the quorum. They were here, but they've left. So meeting's adjourned at 7:40. Thanks very much, Bernie and Sharon, for being here tonight. And thanks everyone else for tuning in and sharing your thoughts and or listening to hear what we're doing. So much appreciated.
Great. Thank you very much, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Thanks.